All right, guys, let's continue. Okay, is there a question before we continue? Do you have the history now? In the exam, if I ask you when is the WW introduced? 1990, yeah? I can ask you this. All right, so as we said before, to have a connection or communication, what you need? You need a protocol. You have to have a standard a protocol to make sure you have successful, yes, communication. Without a protocol, you will not have a communication. Clear? So what is the difference between what's the protocol first? Simple protocol. You have correct, but in general, it's just rules, correct? Because there is a protocol, not even for communication. There is rule even for how to drive, correct? That's a protocol. When you drive in the United States, okay, the driver has to be in the left side, correct? All the cars at the left, you drive on the left side, not like in UK, the driver on the right side. When you drive, if your speed less than 50, where you have to drive, you have to take the right lane, okay, left lane or for the high speed. If you see somebody behind you, give you a flashlight, that's mean you slow, go right, don't stay in the left lane. All right. So if you want to take left or right, you have to use a signal. So there is a protocol. Protocol is a rule, simply, Okay. Now we have a protocol for communication. When I send data from A to B, they have to make sure the media is clear. Nobody's using the media. Okay, I have to make sure the destination it's available. Okay, if I want to send something from A to B and B is completely turned off, what's the point? So okay, so that's the rule. Right? It's just that's the protocol. It's set of rules. Now, how you make this rule as a standard? What does mean for the standard? Standard is rule you agree on. All right. So I'm host A. There's a host B. All right. Okay. We agree on a protocol to use to communicate. Okay. That's now it's turned to standard. And this standard is not managed by a person or a user. It has to be, it's a coordination with, organization. So the organization either it has to be a government, non-profit organization. They have to agree on a rule, a protocol, and that become as standard. Okay, that's why after when they tried to introduce the network, it took a long time from them, from the 60s until 1991, when they agree on the TCP/IP, correct? So TCP/IP, which now is the main, without TCP/IP, we'll not be able to communicate. Simple. And that's a standard. After a long time, and a process to all this organization to agree on a standard. So that's really the difference. Now, what is the protocol elements? What you need to make sure, to make this rule as a protocol, there is elements. So in the communication field, first, the syntax, correct? How the format, or if the format of data, how it's going to look like, and we have to agree on that. So structure of the format of the data, how that's look like, we have to agree on that. Semantic, each field in this data, what that's mean. Let me just give you an example. For example, when we go over TCP/IP, when you're trying to send a message, okay, that's the message, and the message is coming from the application layer, correct? When you're trying to send a message, first you have to send it to the transport layer, correct? This message, the M, you have to add a header to that. So that's the syntax, correct? In this layer, I need the message and I add the header, okay? However, you have to know exactly or what the header means. When you go to the header, inside the header, okay, let's say, the header first, let's assume it's 16-bit, correct? Now, the 16-bit, I will assume the first 4 is the source address. And then the second 4 is the destination address. I'm just assuming, okay? So you have to have, you agree in the, the syntax, and you understand what each field means, all right? We have to agree on that, right? And the third element to have a protocol is the timing. When I can send, when I can receive, all right? Can we send in the same time? Can both computers send at the same time? So that's the timing, all right? That's how you establish the protocol. Again, the standard is developed through a coordination between organizations. Okay, you need an official organization to establish the standard and agree on a protocol. Then that's become a standard and we can use. All right, so how we create a standard? There's two ways. So either you can use what they call it, the committee, and that's some of the committee, famous committee, the ISO, for example, IEEE. I think everybody knows IEEE. That's how the wireless, the Bluetooth. It's IEEE usually. So then the second layer is the forms. So the first one, it takes time because it has to go through a process, review and test, and it takes long time. The second one is the forms, it's faster. And the last one is the, it's the government mostly, that when you have an agency, staff monitor and approve that. So always you will have a federal communication commission, involved. So that's how you introduce the standard. You need an official committee or forum or agency to work, communicate, and approve that and make it as a standard. So how you introduce, how you make what they call it, how you try to make an standards. Let's say you have an idea, you work on it, now you want to make the standard. So it has to go through a process. So what's the process? Okay, that's what they call it, maturity levels. And that takes, I'm sorry, it's not going. All right. So that goes through a process, and it's go through something called, so let's say you have an idea, you send something, a request, you say it's something called request for comment, okay? And it takes a process. And for example, you have in your, let me just make this one full, and I will see. So for example, let's say you have an idea, okay? You have an idea, so you write that draft. Okay, you write it, you say, no, I found this idea, that's the algorithm or that's something. Okay, it has to go through a process. So first process, is, for example, you propose it, then it takes 6 months and 2 tries. If that's passed, then go to a draft standard, and the same thing, it takes 4 months and 2 tries. Then if everything goes well, now then you will have an internet standard, correct? Now let's say you have a proposal and for some reason it doesn't make sense, failed. So it's right away goes to history. It's not working. And maybe this proposal pass, the 6 months and 2 tries and goes to the draft. And for some reason at that point fail for a reason, or something happened, then it's gonna go to the history. Okay. And there is another way, if you're doing just experimental, and you can use that for a proposal, and mostly it's going to go to the history. And if you're doing an internet draft and just you mark it as informational, it just is go to the history. All right. So the concept here to make an internet standard is not something simple. It has to go through a process. It's going to take time. You know, the committee, the agency, all this, they have to be involved and review and approve. And maybe it's anytime, maybe it's not going to work. Then it's going to end up with just goes to the history, you know, just they archive it. Now, there is some, so the protocols or the standards, some of them is required. So for example, you know, now, can I write now? Yes. So required. For example, now all the communication now it's happening in the computer world. You have to use IP protocol. You have to, there is no way. IP protocol has to be involved. Without IP, there is no communication. There is no connection. Now, some of the protocol is recommended. So for example, FTP. You know, FTP is for a file transfer protocol. They recommend to use that. So there is another protocol you can use. All right. So, but this one is recommended. That's maybe the faster, safer way to transfer the data, but it's not required. It's recommended. Some of the protocol is not recommended and is not required. All right. So maybe you have your own protocol you can use, you know, for your own purpose, but you cannot force the other to use it. You cannot recommend that. It's based on your benefit. And there is some protocols is limited. You cannot use it really. It's mostly for maybe for research. So that's why for the experimental. And some of them is not. You cannot use them. So anything went to the, you know, historic. That's mean it's went already through a process and is not approved. So you cannot use it. So there is no way you use that at all. All right. So that's why you have to follow the standard. So I'm not gonna, that's the same idea. Again, if you wanna go, so if you go to this website, let's really just go explore that. You will see all the drafts. So people, they already submit that, it's listed there and it's going through the process. Some of them, maybe it will pass, some of them it's gonna go to the history. So it's not gonna pass. And again, there is organization control the internet, and some of this organization, you know, it's a famous organization. You know, this one is one we will mention when we go to the chapter maybe 9 or chapter 8. You know, for example, this one is controlling the ports in the TCP protocol, TCP/IP protocol, and the transport layer. We are using port. If you remember, I'm sure you're familiar with that. And when you're trying to use the browser, the HTTP, okay, which port we are using in the HTTP, if you remember, guys? Which port? Port 80, right? Okay, for FTP, FTP protocol, we use, I forgot, but let's say now 53, right? But that, it's controlled by this organization. No. All right. So these organizations control the internet. They establish the standard and they control the internet. Again, I'm not going to ask you in the exam. So the ISOC has underneath that you will see IAB. Then you know you will have different organization, and all of them work together to manage the internet. All right. All right, and Appendix G, you will find the website, phone number if you want to call them and talk to them, understand what they do. You can do that, it's available. All right, so now that's the chapter 1. I know it's maybe we'll just start with chapter 2 very quick because still we have time. It's going to be too short for you today, or you need me to stop today. Stop. Okay, so I will stop today. Now, before we leave, okay, is there any question? Now,
So when's the exam?
Yeah, give me 1 second. Each professor has different way to teach. So I need you to give me your feedback. You know, that's still the first class, correct? So if you feel I'm fast, tell me, oh, you're fast. Can you slow down? If you see me slow, okay, I can speed up. All right. The other thing, you know, if there is no any interaction from you, it's hard for me to tell if you already know that or that's something new for you. So always is good if you interact with me. That's going to tell me if I have to spend time on that, or maybe that's something easy for you or basic, you already have it, then I kind of skip some of this topic. I try to skip like today, history, I'm not going to waste your time, just I went over it quick. But from chapter 2, that's the actual material. You know, you will have now, we'll talk about, you know, the protocol, TCP/IP. So that's, you know, it's going to be more fun for you. It's not going to be boring like history today. But again, without your feedback and interaction, it's hard for me to tell if I have to speed, slow, you know, skip some of the information. And you will not, like when you will see some of the chapter, some of the slides, I will skip it because it's obsolete. It's not in use anymore. It's an old technology. So I didn't want to, you know, explain something you will not use in your life. So I will tell you that's obsolete. You can read it for fun, okay? But I'm not going to ask for anything. All right? No question here. So again, every Monday I will be here at 6 o'clock. I will do Zoom, okay? But again, I need students to be here. You know, I will without student here, then you know I cannot you know, teach myself. Okay, correct? So I have to see people here. I will give the you know, option for people that they cannot make it if they live far. Sometime, especially now winter is coming, maybe it's snow day or something. So we can do. If something happened, you know, I will post it in Canvas. Say, you know, today it's going to be just Zoom class because snow. I would try not to cancel any class since we have the Zoom option. I will not cancel it because we have you know, a long material. I last semester I missed a few Mondays because of the holidays, and at the end we missed some of the chapter. I love to give it to the student, but I could not because the timing. So again, Monday I will be here. I will try to do Zoom, try to attend. It's really good for you to be here. And by the way, you know, just to be honest, at the final, when I do the grading, okay, who's attending here, I will take it easy on him. You know, like for example, if he got B, maybe I will push him to A. Okay, when I feel he is really trying to show his interest, you know, somebody is not doing in the exam, is not coming to the class, I don't care. Right? So I will care only about the student. They care about the class. Simple. Guys, if you want to leave, you can leave. Zoom, people over Zoom, do you have any question for me? If you don't have any question, see you next week.
Yes, sir.
Yes?
Yeah, yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, thank you.
Thank you.